couple of months ago I went to a flea market and found this Illustriertes Büromaschinen Dauer Lexikon, a rare German office equipment catalog. It looks like a book, but it is not. It's a card index. As you can see, my catalog looks nice, but it did not when I found it on the flea market. It probably fell from a high bookshelf. It was totally demolished and held together with a piece of rope. However, for the price of only €5, I could not resist it and took it home. But that meant that I would have to do some serious restoration work, which I will show later in this video. Before I do that, I want to tell you how the catalog works and what its history is. The catalog has two main parts. There is the outer box that gives it the look of a book, and there is an inner box that holds the cards. And this inner box can be pulled out by a leather strap. And again has two parts, what I call the fixed part and the tilting part. The tilting part can hinge backward to make room for fingers to walk through the cards and take them out. The hinge between the two parts is a flexible red ribbon at the bottom. The movement of the tilting part is stopped by two narrow fabric bands, one on each side. At the front in the box we find the title card and cards with an introduction and general information. Behind that, starting with an index card, is the actual catalog, which has 32 tab-separated sections with all kinds of office machines, such as calculators, typewriters, dictating machines, and many other categories of special office equipment, but also non-technical office supplies, such as furniture, maps, and other small office supplies. According to the index card, there should be 395 product cards, and luckily they are all there. Here are some samples. The cards only provide descriptions of products. There are no technical explanations, nor is anything about the history of products or brands mentioned. There are also no prices listed. Now, what is the history of the catalog and my copy in particular? On the introduction card in the box it says that in 1921 Ludwig Brauner, the publisher, started with a real book version of the catalog. However, within a couple of years it became clear that a book version quickly became outdated due to the rapid developments in the office equipment industry in those days. So, in 1926 the switch was made to this loose card version. Now cards of outdated products could be taken out and cards of new products could be inserted. This way the catalog could be kept up to date by purchasing new supplements from the publisher. New inserted cards from the supplements can be recognized by the word Neu in the top left corner of the card. Now about this copy. There is an inventory note attached to the title card, and there are a stamp and a written note on the title card itself. They show that this copy was purchased in 1934 by the library of the Patent Office in The Hague for the amount of 5 Rijksmark. The table of content of this copy is from the apparently combined 13th and 14th update of April 1933. This indicates that this copy has never been updated since it was purchased in 1934. There also is a letter attached to the title page. It's dated January 31, 1940. It's from a bookstore in The Hague that informs the library of the Patent Office that the publisher told them that no more supplements would be published. Apparently, the Patent Office tried to update the catalogue by ordering supplements shortly before the Second World War. But they were too late. The war meant the end of the Dauer Lexikon. Now let's take a closer look at what I bought. As I said, the guide is in a terrible condition and needs serious restoration. The top is gone, and I took the cards out and put them in a box I made to keep them safe. First I will show the damage to the cover. I'll take off this elastic band, and now you can see this is a loose part and this is almost completely torn. I will gently put it aside. Now the card box. The top is missing. It's completely open. It should be covered here. And if I remove this band, you'll see it falls completely into pieces. This is the inner box that could be slid out and in. This is what is supposed to hold the cards. And this is the outer box that should be one with the cover and closed on the top. Then I discovered something at the bottom of the inner box. I saw a spot where clearly something had been attached to it. There was a rectangular shape pressed into the cardboard on both the in and the outside, and there was glue residue on it. The only thing I could think of was that there might have been some sort of strap or loop to pull the inner box out, but I had no idea what it should look like. I searched the internet to see if I could find photos or other information about the catalogue. Unfortunately, I only had one hit, and beside one single photo of the cover, it only told me that there might be a copy of this catalogue in the collection of the Pieter Mieterhofer Schrijfmaschinenmuseum in Parchins in the north of Italy. So I took some photos of my demolished catalogue and sent an email to the museum asking if they indeed had it in their collection, and if so, could they please send me a photo of the strap or loop if there was one. Within a couple of days I received a kind email back from the museum with some photos of the loop that also had come loose in their catalogue. Those photos were very helpful. They showed me the color, the texture and the dimensions of the loop. Restoring the catalogue is going to be quite a job, and the first step to make was to obtain the necessary materials. At a hobby shop I bought some cardboard sheets to make the missing and too much damaged walls of the boxes. I also bought a jar of bookbinder's glue. That's glue that stays a little elastic. And I bought a piece of ribbon to replace the half-torn hinge at the bottom of one of the boxes. In my wife's sewing cabinet I found a piece of fabric of the right width and color to replace the missing strap between one of the sides of the box. And I also found a strip of fabric. It's a fabric with fibers in it. It's a little bit stiff, and I'm going to use that as a backing behind the torn cover. Then I encountered my first problem. I need some paper with a print similar to the existing red marble print of the walls of the boxes. In the hobby shops, nor on the internet, I could find anything with a print that came close enough. So I took the largest and best looking wall of the box and scanned it. Then I did some tricks with Photoshop to scale it up to A4 size and to improve the look of it, and I printed a couple of sheets with my color laser printer. And to make it more wear resistant, I coated the printed sheets with semi-gloss transparent plus spray paint. And this is how it looks. It's pretty similar to the original. Finally, I had to find suitable material to replace the missing pull-out look. Luckily, a friend of mine who has a business that refurbishes fitness equipment cushions was able to help me out with a piece of thin foul leather. It has the right color and also about the same surface texture as the original look. So now I have all the ingredients to start the restoration. I started with the repair of the torn cover. I fixed the back and the torn off side on the table with tape, so they could not move relative to each other. The other side needed a support to keep the back in the correct position. I cut a strip of fabric to the right size and folded a step in it to compensate for the difference in thickness of the cardboard of the back and the side. Then I glued the fabric in place. As soon as the fabric is dry, I will glue the edges of the green covering back in place. Next step was to put the outer box back together. I applied glue to the edges and pushed the sides against each other. To keep them in place during drying, I used magic tape again. To keep the correct distance between the sides, I placed a temporary loose wall. I had to make a new top, so I drew the outline of it on the cardboard and cut it to size. Then I applied glue to the edges and put the top in place. Again, I used magic tape to fix it. Finally, I placed something heavy on it to press it down. Now that the box is back together, I smooth the outside, the cover and the spine insert by scraping off any glue residue and loosened bits so I can glue them together at a later stage. Next step is to cover everything with marbled paper. First the inside of the new top. I start by cutting the paper to size and folding it to fit. Then checking if it fits, applying glue and rub and press it into place. The outside of the bottom is next. I cut the marbled paper to size and apply the glue. Then I position the box on the paper and turn it upside down to rub it tight and fold the edges. I glue the long edges around the corners of the box. And then cut out the corners of the paper. After that, I fold and glue the edge at the open front inward. To prevent wrinkles, the paper around the curve at the back first must be cut before it can be folded around the edge and glued down. Well, I followed the same procedure for the top of the box and then I glued the cover around it. This means that the outer box is finished now and I think it looks great again. It even looks like a book. Now I can move on to the inner box, and that will also be a lot of work, I'm afraid. I replaced the partially torn hinge ribbon with a new one. The marble paper on the inner box is complicated in shape and in some cases extends from the inside to the outside of a wall. That's why I always made a template first to determine what shape the marble paper should be cut into. And again, it's applying glue putting the paper in place, and in this case also lead the fabric strap through the slit in the paper. Then folding the paper around the edge onto the outside, followed by more gluing of surface and edges again. One of the sides of the tilting part of the box was beyond repair. The strap was completely torn out along with pieces of the cardboard. So I made a new one. In this sketch you can see how the straps between the fixed and the tiltable parts run from the outside of the outer wall to the inside of the inner wall. The tiltable part of the inner box has no bottom, therefore I reinforced the corners with thick paper. Also visible is how I laid the new strap into the surface of the also new side. Here the strap is doing what it's supposed to do, restricting the movement of the tilting part of the box. The final piece of marbled paper has been applied. What remains now is to make the pull-out loop and glue it to the box. The photos I got from Schrijfmaschinen Museum Pieter Mieterhofer made it possible to determine the dimensions of the loop I had to make. I took the faux leather and cut a strip of the correct dimensions. As shown in the sketch, one end of the loop must be inlaid in the inside and the other end in the outside of the bottom. So I carefully cut a slit through the sidewall of the box for the loop end to pass through and made a rectangular cutout in the bottom just deep enough to accept it. On the outside of the bottom I made a similar cutout for the other end of the loop. I finished the inner box by gluing the ends of the loop in the cutouts. And now the box has a pull-out loop again. So the inner box is ready also. It looks very good. The mechanism to give the card space functions with the two ribbons in between the boxes, and even the pull-out strap is there again. I think I can put the cards back in. You put it on the shelf, the strap bends back, and you can pull the inner box out, make some space to walk through the cards with your fingers, and get the card out you need. And put it back together again. So now you have an idea of how I turned this mess into a neat catalog again. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it.